And the way I like to think of it too, and I give this advice for those who are starting a YouTube channel, is it's okay to not appeal to everybody. In fact, it's desirable because things that appeal to everybody appeal to nobody.
Yeah.
You're like dentist art.
A friend of all is a friend of none, you know?
Yeah.
Dentist art's a good one.
Dentist art.
Elevator music.
Or even elevator advertisements in hotels. You ever see those hotels?
I can tell you. I've been in so many hotels recently that I can tell you the ones Hampton Inn has.
Yeah.
There's a dog wearing a hot dog costume.
Yeah, who cares? You know what I'm saying?
My daughter, I'll tell you. She is a huge fan of that particular art. But she is the target
But the
demographic.
point is, it's clearly designed to be as least offensive as possible.
Yes.
It appeals to every single person, and so therefore no one cares.
Hey, let's get slightly controversial here.
All right.
A lot of parishes operate on that model.
Like 2.5 hours in, let's do it.
Yeah,
let's
let's
get
finally
controversial.
say something controversial.
Do it now that no one's watching anymore.
Exactly. A lot of parishes operate on the model you just described of how can we avoid like upsetting anyone. And the way diocesan structures are set up really encourages that kind of bland approach because you got a vicar general in every diocese. And if you preach as a pastor anything controversial, that's going to get to the vicar general. And in an ordinary diocese, he's going to reach out to you. Now, in a good diocese, he may say, I'm not scolding you for this. I'm glad you're speaking on this, but you should just know this has come to our desk. Even that is giving a negative feedback every time you do the right thing. And so you learn pretty quickly, if I say this thing, I'm going to get called from my superiors and maybe not exactly scolded, but it's going to feel like scolding.
Yeah.
That's how you train someone to be bland. Because you just say, oh, someone didn't like this. And that's not a good way to live. I have found, I was a seminarian for 5 years. I had plenty of conversations about outreach and all of these things. And regularly the attitude I would get, look, I should caveat. I was in some great parishes. I saw a lot of fantastic Catholics who were really on fire, really wanted to do good things. But I also saw a lot of people, especially people who were maybe a little older, who technology was kind of scary for. And like the idea of like going out there on the internet and like saying things where people could say something wrong in the comments or they could be mean. They were just like, well, what if they do this? What if they're like unhappy? And they would prefer to do nothing than like offend people. Not because they were cowards, but because they were trying to be kind. Like because they were trying to say like, okay, well, how do I not offend them? And the answer is you don't. Like we live in a culture in which just being a person who loves Jesus Christ is offensive to huge numbers of people. If you're actually serious about that, you're going to have enemies. And a really good indication of that is that he did. And he did it all perfectly. Like, it isn't like you're going to find a better model than Jesus had where you just get rid of the enemies. Like, nope, they were there. Like, they were people who did not like the gospel. Like, this is like the repulsiveness of Christ is something we want to shy away from. That Christ repels people. In John 6, they're scandalized and they walk away. If our teaching doesn't cause that, we're not preaching Christ.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've thought about this for a while. Have you any suggestions then to priests who are trying to deal with this?
This is like me giving suggestions to parents,
Sure.
But even less qualified. I would just say, I think on the diocesan level, dioceses should just take those complaints, and if they're valid, go and talk to the priest. And if they're complaining about things that are
they
just
should
a
be
priest,
talking about,
yeah,
call them and congratulate them.
Oh,
Buy
yeah,
them
exactly.
a beer. Yeah.
Or just like, why are the other priests not getting these calls?
Well, I tell you, here's something that we can all do who are watching right now is we can always praise our priest when he steps out in courage and says something that's going to upset people that's in line with the gospel.
Yes, exactly.
Everyone can do that. And you might be tempted to think, well, somebody will thank him or I don't need to thank him. No, go out of your way and say, thank you for having courage.
And so I think the other thing that if there's a fake courage, there are priests who will, at a very liberal parish, talk about how bad conservatives are, or at a very conservative parish, talk about how bad liberals are. And it looks courageous. Like, oh, wow, way to stand up to them, Father.
Yeah, but there's none of them here. Yeah.
Exactly. I've been to like Latin Mass parishes where they just talk about abuses in the Novus Ordo. Like, that's a bad homily because no one here is guilty of that. And the people who need to hear that aren't hearing it.
Yeah.
So you might as well preach about like why like the Chinese premier did something wrong.
Yeah.
It could not be further removed from the lives of the people you need to preach. What are the sins that your people are struggling with. Preach to those. Like if you're not getting some negative feedback, you're probably not touching the wounds. And so I would just say take heart, like be courageous to priests who are getting some of that feedback. Like maybe you're getting feedback because you need to do something differently. Maybe you need to be gentler about it or whatever, but it may also just be a sign that you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment below letting us know what you thought about the video.